Welcome back to Stamping at the Warren, and I'm Kim Tolton, and today I'm sharing with you this card here, and this uses the Picture Perfect stamp set, and it's a multi-step stamp set, so there's about 3 steps per image. So we've got a leaf, there's a starfish and the roses, so I'm going to be using the leaves and the roses today, and my card is going to differ slightly because originally I made this using the Picture Perfect stamp set along with the timeless textures that I used yesterday, and I thought, I don't know, let me think. So I'm actually going to do the rose will be on actually punched out using a circle punch to pop it up a little bit because I felt it was a little bit too flat, and I'm going to be using the timeless textures in place of the gorgeous grunge elements on here, but otherwise it's basically the same. And the real reason for sharing this card with you is to show you how to do a multi-step stamp set image. So there we go, a bit of a mouthful, especially with my numb tongue, as you know I have. So pop that over to one side. So the first thing is you need your card base. So that's back to my usual, which is thicker Whisper White cardstock, measuring 21 centimetres long by 14.8 centimetres wide. And you score that long side in half at 10.5 centimetres. Fold so that the ridge is inside the card, and you could use your stamping trimmer or a scoring tool, both of which obviously you can get through my Stampin' Up website, and that can just be popped to one side until we're ready for it. Let's pop it over there, I think. So we're just using 3 ink pads today. Look at the state of this one. This is the main one we're using, which is my Melon Mambo. I opened it up yesterday and it all fell apart. You can see I've still got ink on my hands, and it's fine, it pops back in, but in the process of popping it back in I ended up with mess everywhere. Hey ho, eh? Right, so whilst you've got your trimmer out, trim a piece of Melon Mambo cardstock to 14.4 by 10.1 centimetres, which will be your first matte layer. And you also need a Whisper White, which is the piece we're going to be working on, which is 14 by 9.7 centimetres. And I've just realised I haven't trimmed that quite to size there. Let me get my trimmer. Just take the edge off there. I was very tired when I finished in here yesterday, so that's probably why. And trying to work around the tree surgeons next door is proving quite tricky. Right. There we go. Okie dokie. So you've got all your pieces of cardstock now. And you'll also need a scrap piece of Whisper White cardstock that the roses are going to be punched onto and stamped onto. So the first thing we're going to do is create the background, the backdrop for the stamp. I'm going to do that using Sahara Sand, and I'm using 2 of the stamps from the Timeless Treasures, and using Stamping Off the Page and first and second generation stamping, and that's just the amount of times you stamp between re-inking. And then let's have some grids on there, and I'm going to overlap them to create that background so it doesn't look quite as flat. Very subtle. Whilst I'm there, I'm going to stamp the sentiment. Now you'll probably hear when I'm working with my photopolymer stamps, what I tend to do is all the stamps that I'm using, I get out of the stamp set, and because it's photopolymer, they stick on the backing material really easily. So I put them in order. So this is stamp 1, stamp 2, stamp 3. And if you look, they all have a little tab. And it's the same with the leaves, they've all got a little tab. And again, I've done these in the order in which you would stamp them. So you go from the least defined to the most defined, okay? And these little tabs are how you line up the stamp on the blocks. And then you stamp from there. So, pop this to one side because we're not going to be using this until later. Oh yes we are, we're going to stamp the sentiment. Stupid me. Right, so sentiment in chocolate chip. And I have used the Our Hearts Decide Who Family Is, and I think that's such a beautiful sentiment. That's the Heart of Sand, we're done with that one. Running out of space. And now photopolymer, you will notice, does stain your ink pads, and that's just par for the course, I'm afraid. Just clean them with Stampin' Mist just to moisturise them and look after them. Okay, that's your sentiment on there. So that's the background all sorted for your card. So now we're going to start the 3-step stamps. So you want your block, let's pop him back on there, and first of all you want the least defined rose stamp. Now I line mine up so that this tab here, I don't know if you can see, let's see if I can zoom in a bit more. Can you see the tab here? So I make sure that all of my tabs are in the same place. So when you turn it over that way, you're always going to be able to line up. So I'm just zoom you back out a bit. Okay. And I just use the one ink pad. So I am just using Melon Mambo for the roses anyway. So what you're going to do first of all, ink up the stamp, and then you're going to stamp off most of the ink that's on that stamp and pop it down on your piece of scrap cardstock, and it's a very pale, diffuse, undefined stamp. Then you go to your next one, again lining that up in the same place, so your tabs here, ink it up. Now again you're going to ink that off onto some scrap paper. Make sure your stamp is all lined up. It's not essential to be to the millimetre. Pop that down and up, and you're getting a little bit over the top there, and then you change it again, and this is where the real bit of magic happens. So you ink up, and this time you are not taking any ink off. Overlap it again, and there's your little flower look. Isn't that sweet? It's really rather cute, isn't it? So I am going to punch this out using the 2-inch punch. Get it fairly central. There we go. And I'm actually going to ink the edges of that using the Old Olive, just to sort of coordinate the whole thing. And just go gently around the edges. Didn't want too thick a line around there. Okay, so that's that bit done. Now you want the old olive, and we're now going to make the leaf. I can't remember if that fits on there. No. Right, muttering away to myself, I'm sorry. Right, so you're starting with the least defined stamp again, but this time we're stamping onto here. So you just want to roughly see where that's going to go, and you're going to stamp one up this way and one up this way, and you're going to do it in exactly the same way as you did before. So you're going to ink off most of the ink, and then we'll have one leaf going up this way, and then repeat that and have the other leaf coming off here. Change your stamp, go to the next middle defined stamp, and just like before, stamp off and over stamp that one, stamp off, over stamp there, and then change for the last one. And this one you are going to not stamp off first. There we go. And hopefully your flower will get mounted on here, and it will just be a hint that's coming out either side, because this will overlap a little bit over here. Okay, so close that up. And now it's just an assembly job. So I think I am going to use what was left of that green ink. I've just got to find which side. That side. So I'm just going to use the residual ink just to go around the edges. That old olive ink. And both Old Olive and the Melon Mambo come from the Brights collection, so they already coordinate really well. And then when I'm looking at a neutral stamp to coordinate, you can either go for a contrast, so a different tone of neutral, or like I've done here where I've used chocolate chip, which is a similar intensity of colour to the Brights collection, so it works well in that way. Right, fast fuse or Tombow for the back of your card. And I've lost my fast fuse. It was here a moment there, right by my hand. I have such poor, I take an anti-epileptic medication, and I can remember things from the past, even if it's just a day or two ago. I can remember things incredibly well and in detail, but you asked me to remember something I did about 5 minutes ago, forget it. It's gone. Right, so I'm going to pop this on dimensionals. You just need about 3 on the back. And you can probably hear the tree surgeons are back at work now. So just pop that so it all overlaps. There you go. And that can then be mounted onto your card base. Again, using some, I'm going to use fast fuse, but you could use Tombow, tape and tear, whichever you prefer. That goes down on your card front. And then just a last little bit. I've still got loads of the cording trim, both gold and silver, and I just thought it'd be nice to use that up. So wrap a little bit around your fingers. You could use baker's twine or linen thread would work just as well. I rather like to use up what I've got left over. And pop a bit of fast fuse just in that corner there, and that will help hold down this whilst I make the bow. And you want bunny ears, so make sure the ribbon is going away from you, and then you want 2 bunny ears of approximately the same height, again both bunny ears with the ribbon actually going away from you. Tie your knot, and there's your bow. And then all you have to do, don't do it too tight, all you do then is you shorten the tails without, you've still not trimmed it off the reel, so get those nice and short, pull tight, and you'll have a nice size bow. Trim your edge tails to as long as you want them to be. There you've got your bow. I'll make it a bit smaller actually. I like it to be in proportion if I can. Let's take those tails off a bit more, I think. There you go. Right, so for this bit, it will go straight down over that piece of fast fuse you've put down there. That holds the thread in place. And there you have your card for today. So I hope you like it. It's a bit grungy, and I adore this new Timeless Treasures stamp set. So me, so love it. So I shall be using it a lot, I'm sure. And that's it for today, just as the tree surgeon's starting to make lots and lots of noise again. So 2 slightly different versions of the same card. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Don't forget, all of my social media information is in the Show More section beneath today's video. And feel free to leave comments. I do like to hear from people and get to know you all, so you can leave comments in there. There will be a link directly from my video, my YouTube channel, over to my blog at www.stampingatthewarren.blogspot.co.uk, and I hope to see you on one of those forums. And that's it for today really, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Ta-ta for now.